This is Left Voices for Friday, February 14th, 2014. I'm Andrea Sears. Tonight,
I'm more than happy to have that delay. I'm more than happy to have the prosecution out there digging up evidence that will tend to undermine the credibility of their best witness.
one of the last trials of an Occupy Wall Street activist has been postponed. Opening arguments in the felony assault trial of Occupy Wall Street activist Cecily McMillan were scheduled to begin today, but the trial has now been postponed until March 3rd. McMillan was arrested near Zucotti Park in Lower Manhattan on March 17, 2012, as police were clearing the park. Video of the arrest shows McMillan being violently pushed to the ground and beaten by police, sustaining multiple bruises on her head, chest, and back. After the arrest, she experienced seizures and was taken to a hospital, but she was charged with assaulting a police officer, a Class D felony carrying a possible sentence of 7 years in prison. McMillan's is one of the few remaining cases of Occupy Wall Street arrests still unresolved. Martin Stolar, McMillan's attorney, says jury selection was set to begin Thursday morning.
But the district attorney came in and asked for some additional time to investigate new information that had come to her attention concerning a civil suit that had been lodged against this particular police officer who is allegedly the victim of Cecily's assault, concerning him being a defendant in a case alleging that he assaulted somebody else. So she wanted time to investigate that, as is her obligation as a district attorney who seeks justice. It's her ethical obligation and constitutional obligation to turn over any evidence that would tend to undermine the credibility of her witness. So she wanted some time to investigate it, and I will say we certainly consented to that additional time, because if she comes up with something that undermines the credibility of a witness, that only helps the defense case, obviously. So that led to the initial postponement, and there was some additional time that was taken because Cecily's lawyer, myself, has a long scheduled vacation. So I'm taking a few days in the sun.
How critical is the officer's testimony? I know that there is some video evidence from the alleged assault as well. So how critical is his evidence to the prosecution's case?
Well, the officer's testimony is absolutely critical. I mean, there's no question that the officer got whacked on the cheekbone by Cecily's elbow. He's got a nice bright shiner, nice good pictures of basically a bruise under his eye. That happened. The question is, what were the circumstances under which Cecily hit him with her elbow? And his credibility is definitely in question when it comes to explaining how that took place.
What are the discrepancies? What is the difference between his story and hers?
Well, I will tell you, I don't know what his story is yet because I haven't heard it under oath. What he has told other officers is a couple of different stories about what Cecily was doing. Either she was under arrest by somebody else and he was escorting her out of the park, or she was interfering with an arrest that some other officer was conducting. None of that is on videotape, and I don't know what he's going to say when he gets under oath in court. From Cecily's point of view and from the point of view of the videotape, she's on her way walking out of the park when she is grabbed by him. And she is grabbed on her right breast. That causes her to react and to startle. And that's when her right elbow comes up and smacks him in the face, because she's startling and trying to say, who's this guy who's grabbing me on my right breast? So that is essentially what Cecily says. The officer's testimony under oath, I don't know what it's going to be yet, but he's told two different stories which are slightly contradictory to what Cecily McMillan is going to testify to.
I have seen photographs. There's certainly bruising. Cecily was pretty seriously roughed up during that arrest and ended up in the hospital. What exactly did happen to her?
What we can see on the videotape is that after she hit the officer with the elbow, she's pushed over onto her head. She goes face down on the sidewalk. And it appears that several officers, and I don't know if Officer Bovell, who was the officer who she struck with her elbow, was among them, treat her rather roughly, is, I guess, a nice way of putting it. And they handcuff her and take her to a bus that's waiting nearby where they have other prisoners who've been arrested in Zucotti that day and that evening. On the bus, she suffers a seizure, or what appears to be a seizure. She's taken off the bus. She sort of was lying down on the sidewalk, having what looks like a seizure. Finally, after a tremendous delay, EMS comes and takes her to Beekman Downtown Hospital, where she is, of course, handcuffed to a bed because she's a prisoner who's under arrest. She's treated by a doctor. She's then taken to a precinct to be lodged. She then has additional problems. They take her to Bellevue for additional medical stuff. Then finally she gets to see a judge 40 hours later. All of that stuff that happened after Cecily goes down on the ground and hits her head is really not the subject of this particular trial. The bruises that she got from the assault, or what appears to be an assault by police officers on her back and on her head and on her ribs, are not really the subject of this trial. That is reserved for another day. What happened to her, the seizure that she suffered, the lack of medical attention, that's really not the subject of this trial as well. What is the subject of the trial is whether or not she intentionally hit the guy in the face with the intent to cause him to not be able to do his normal police duties. That's what the question is. That's what the indictment alleges. And that's what the defense is all about. Not really about what happened to her afterwards, although it certainly does not look good for the New York City Police Department in the way they mishandled her.
She was not there as part of the demonstration that day. How did she get singled out by police in the first place?
Well, it's interesting. That day happened to be the 6-month anniversary of the establishment of the Occupy Wall Street encampment in Zucotti Park. And there was a sort of a friendly gathering, a sort of an anniversary gathering of people. And Cecily, who had been an OWS activist from way in the beginning, she was part of the group that met in Tompkins Square Park before OWS actually got its name as such, and had been a consistent member of it and a consistent, outspoken person at General Assemblies and in working groups. She was taking this day off. It was St. Patrick's Day. And she has got Irish ancestry, and she got dressed up in green. She had a friend in from out of town, and she was going to party. She was taking the day off from protest. And as she goes and partying with her friend, drinking green beer in the East Village, they decide to hook up with another friend whom they say, look, I'll meet you at Zucotti. We'll go find some Irish pubs in the Wall Street area. And so they went down to Zucotti just to meet the friend. Not to be part of the commemoration, not to be part of a demonstration, not to be part of a protest that particular day. And she's got the green outfit and pictures of her drinking the green beer to prove it.
This incident happened 2 years ago. Why has it taken so long to come to trial?
Some cases take that long. There were various pretrial proceedings on various motions, pretrial motion hearings and other things, various delays for other reasons that are really nothing serious. Some cases just don't work their way through the system as quickly as others do. Plus, you have to understand that Cecily is at liberty. She's not in jail. And people who have cases that are pending who are in jail tend to get a priority in terms of trial parts that are available and judges and juries. And that is the way it should be. If you're in jail, your case should be heard much more quickly than a person who's at liberty. It is one of the longer delays, and it's up there on administrative judges' boards that say, how come this case has taken so long to resolve, blah, blah, blah. But that's the way it happens.
But then for the opening day of jury selection to have a further delay as an issue of the prosecution's prime witness.
Well, that's the kind of delay that I welcome. I'm more than happy to have that delay. I'm more than happy to have the prosecution out there digging up evidence that will tend to undermine the credibility of their best witness.
Martin Stolar is a criminal defense attorney representing Occupy Wall Street activist Cecily McMillan. This has been Left Voices for Friday, February 14th, 2014. Join us again next week for more news and information from a progressive perspective. I'm Andrea Sears for leftvoices.net.